2009 Toyota Camry or Solara, I don't know exactly which one it is. Got the 2G RFE, which is the V6. It's getting an alternator replaced. First thing you want to do is pull the clips off of these. Should be a little quick connect. Toss that out of the way. There's your alternator. It's a little warm down in there. It's a little warm outside in general, although it just rained. We're going to make ourselves a little space here by removing some of the plastic components. It's supposed to be to beautify the engine, but in reality it's a headache for the mechanic. I don't think this has the adjuster on it. Matter of fact, I'm fairly certain it doesn't because I don't see it down in there. I'm trying to hold some of this air off the microphone just so it doesn't just sound like. Okay, so what we're going to do first, of course, disconnect our battery. Disconnect the plugs and stuff off of the alternator. Get that 10mm bracket off the back of the alternator there. We'll find a 14 to be able to disconnect the top bolt. And before we take that bolt all the way out, we're going to tap it towards the driver's side to be able to knock that bushing in, or out rather. The alternator's not good, so you don't have to worry about damaging it. And the other bolt, we can't see at the moment, but I'll be able to see it in just a minute. Pull out the newly remanufactured alternator. It's got a through bolt on the bottom as well. Big pulley on there for a small alternator. Okay, so this is how it sits in there. This is the plug that goes on the back of the alternator and your positive lead. Make sure your tabs for your positive lead go back down into this groove. This is that pin that I was talking about knocking out or bushing. That's a nut that actually slides in and compresses this section right here, makes it smaller for a tighter fit. The bolt underneath has threads on the back side, so it only threads into the alternator itself, doesn't thread into a nut like this. Also, there is that bolt that I was pointing out just a minute ago for the 10mm. So I'm going to go ahead and go get a couple sockets. I have a rental tool from AutoZone. I have mine somewhere, but it's in like 30 different pieces. This will facilitate in taking the serpentine belt off. This is the 3/8 drive, this is a 1/2 inch drive, a couple of different small sockets, and the crow's foot. Alright, surprising enough, I found a 10. I had to start putting these things in a lockbox, that way I can find them again in the future. I have had about 30 of these. Now I maybe have 2. I mean, or 1, just this one. I don't know. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull that power wire off. Pull the boot back. Maybe. There we go. That is extremely tight. Also, you probably want to let the engine cool down a little bit before doing this, simply because your hands are going to be where the exhaust is, where the cylinder heads are. It gets a little warm. This tab is on the back side, which is going to be there. So we're going to do this with one hand. Yep, surprisingly. Alright, now I broke this one loose. There we go, it's already out. Don't lose that. If you do, it's an M6x1, very short bolt. We'll pop this wiring harness off here, this wiring harness off here, just to allow us to move it on the other side. Now here's the top bolt that's going to end up getting knocked back here in just a few minutes. The bottom bolt is on the complete opposite side. You can see here, this is the top bolt, and the bottom bolt is down in there. From this angle you can't see it, but it's there, I can assure you. So let's get this top bolt loosened up. Wrong way, Brad. I'm going to say this might be a 13. Alright, I gotta set this down, I'm not left-handed. Just a heads up, that bolt is extremely tight as well. At least if it's been on there since 2009. I'm going to go get a hammer and a pry bar with the tapping end on the back of it and knock that bolt loose, and then come back and start recording again. Okay, so this kit doesn't come with a 14 inside of it. It has a 13, 15, 16, and maybe a 17. No, 18. Then you have a 13, 15, and a 14, and a crow's foot. So you use the crow's foot. Thankfully there's not a ton of tension on it. The pulley that's just beside the water pump on these V6s is the one that you have to take loose. You move it towards the firewall to be able to pull the belt off. You may have to maneuver it around the bracket there for the cooling neck, but I can get it out of there, but not with only one hand, so I'll be right back. I think when putting this thing back together, I'm going to go get a socket, because I do have 14mm short sockets. It'll make this a lot easier, and then I'll probably use my 18-inch ratchet. But I did get it off, and I've already knocked this back, so the top section is loose. Be careful and not tear your hose up. This is your top bolt. I had to take the spectacles off, so I apologize if I can't see anything. I guess I should have said that a different way. I apologize if y'all can't see anything, because I can't see anything. I have to take the ring off. I can't reach my hand in there. This is a very horrible design. I thought that bottom was grooved or slotted to be able to allow the alternator to have the bolt in. It just slid right down on there, but apparently not. So I got in there. The bottom bolt is just to the right of the tensioner on the top side of it. If you leave the belt on there, it's going to be, you put the socket up under the belt to be able to gain access to it. This is a deep socket. It's actually used for Nissan spark plugs. So I may not record this part of it to be able to get it out, because I may end up fussing and fighting at it, and I don't want to re-recording that on the internet for everybody to see. So I'm going to continue working on pulling that bolt out and see if this is grooved under there. If it is, then I'll be able to come back much sooner. If not, then it's going to be just a few seconds for you guys anyways. Alright, so I've gotten the front bolt out. There is obviously a back bolt that goes to here, so it threads in from the back side, and I'm going to assume that there's a bracket, a little thin bracket, since there's still movement here. That means it's not a thick aluminum bracket like the alternator itself is. So I'm going to find it, hopefully take it off the easiest way possible and not have to fight with it for too long. There is no reason to have this bolt where it's at. I mean, it's you can't even see it from here. You can't see it even when you're down there. If you went to the bottom side, you wouldn't be able to see it because the AC compressor is in the way. The top bolt on the upper right hand corner, if you're looking at the AC compressor, you can see from here, but you can't see the bolt that actually goes into the block that holds the back of the alternator on. So when you're taking this out, this is what the bolt looks like that goes into the block. This is a 12 millimeter magnetic socket with a 3-inch quarter drive extension. I had to use the little midget ratchet to be able to get down in there, but I got it out finally. Now the next issue is going to be getting it out of this hole. I may end up having to set the engine back down. I have it jacked up slightly right now, so I could have gotten to that bolt on the front. My hands are just a little too big to be fitting in these. Where is this car made? China? Japan? It says USA and Canada-Derpian, but that's not where Toyota is made. Toyota was manufactured in Japan, I believe. Alright, so we're going to set this back down. It really didn't do much difference. The torque strut is out of there, but it didn't move. But the alternator is out. That's a good thing. Fishing it out of there is going to be a little bit tricky. You have the radiator mounted here, but you could take that core support there off and maybe manipulate the radiator to the front of the vehicle a little bit, but if you don't have to do that, I probably wouldn't do that. I'll let you know if you have to do that in just a second. If you're watching this video to hopefully find an easier way of doing this, there's not one. Take the radiator fan out. Take the core support loose from the 2 bolts here, 1 bolt here, and the 2 bolts here. Also take your breather box tube off and your upper radiator hose. Make sure to have some antifreeze with you. Then you have a wire down here. See that end right there on the end of my pointer finger. It's connected into the bottom of this bracket here. This is the bracket that you can't see. And I've been at this for probably 30 minutes since the last pause of the video. I finally got it out of there. What an absolute terror. If this helped you, please like and subscribe. Share the video with your friends or anybody who may be getting ready to do alternator on their 2GR FE 3.3 Toyota or 3.5 Toyota motor, not a 3.3. Thanks for watching.